right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Calls for change.
Are you better off than you were 20 years ago?
Hundreds rally with Democrats as the party works to flip Missouri.
There'll be some changes.
Sun looks limited this weekend, and so are the rain chances. The timing on any rain for the weekend and the latest update on our weather impact alert day for Tuesday's storm chance.
Our top story, a disastrous crash sends 8 people to the hospital. The accident bringing safety concerns to light in North St. Louis. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson. 2 people are in critical condition after first responders rescued several people trapped from the crash on West Florissant and Oriole. Annie Krall was at the scene speaking with neighbors and bystanders about how dangerous that street can be.
I don't know, that car is really towed up.
Coming off of Oriole Avenue, St. Louis Metro Police say a Hyundai with 7 people inside was heading west onto West Florissant Avenue when it went into oncoming traffic, hitting a Mercury head-on, blocking off traffic for hours and forcing people to turn around.
They came around here and seen this accident, and it's a peculiar accident.
It happened around 4:30 p.m., the St. Louis Fire Department saying on social media shortly after people were trapped. Battalion 6 reporting 2 people were taken to the hospital in critical condition, while 2 others had serious injuries. And despite the devastation left behind by Friday's crash, 4 other people were left with non-life-threatening injuries and are expected to be okay. Police now tell us it was a 35-year-old that drove into oncoming traffic, hitting a 42-year-old who's in critical condition. 5 juveniles were part of the 8 total injured. Liberty White lives nearby. Her son was inside less than 2 blocks away when it happened.
He just said it woke him up. He was taking a nap right there in the living room, and I asked him, did he hear anything? And he said he heard the crash, that it was pretty loud.
White has lived on West Florissant for only a month, but has already seen firsthand what a problem area it can be.
Yeah, they up and down the street all night long, loud, going fast.
After seeing this, White's glad she at least lives up on a slight hill.
Because I don't want my front porch getting hit by a car, because I've seen it sometimes on the news where people's houses get hit by the vehicles. So, yeah, I'm glad I'm up there, and all 3 sets of stairs are right there to keep us from getting, our living room rammed in.
Police say the investigation is ongoing. Annie Krall, 5 on Your Side.
New tonight, St. Louis City Police are searching for a suspect who stole multiple items from police headquarters. Police say someone got in through the parking garage and stole several things, including a gun on Monday. Detectives do have a person of interest, but he is not in custody. Today, officers searched that person's Crystal City home and found the stolen gun and other stolen items. They're investigating how the burglar got in and are working to make sure it doesn't happen again. Just into our newsroom, 1 person is injured after a fire broke out at a home in Wildwood. The Metro West Fire Protection District sent us these images of the blaze on Old State Road. Fire Captain Walt Coppin says only 1 person was in the home and he was treated for minor injuries at the scene. Firefighters are warning people to stay away from Old State Road between Highway 109 to Old Fairway Drive. Developing tonight, the FAA and the NTSB are investigating after a medical helicopter crashed in Hartford, Illinois. It happened after 9 last night. Hartford fire officials tell us the helicopter was part of a training exercise. 3 people were on board and were all taken to the hospital. They are expected to be okay. Neighbors say they have never seen something so disastrous.
Now I'm still shaking on my insides. I got goosebumps as I'm talking about it. Just actually seeing something like that in my backyard, really, at the time, I really don't even know what I was thinking. I was just so fluttered.
Right now, we still don't know what caused the crash. Tonight, we're hearing from a woman who says the father of her children kidnapped them and led police on a cross-state chase. She says her ex-boyfriend, Dante Pryor, took her and their 2 children from her Granite City home last night. Police tried to stop him, but he led them on an hours-long chase into Missouri. Officers were able to use spike strips to stop the car along I-64 in O'Fallon. The car rolled over multiple times, but no one was seriously injured. She tells us she is thankful her kids survived.
So I thought he was going to kill me, and that's what I think he was intending to do, because he kept saying that he wanted to be with me, and if he couldn't, then nobody else could. I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, I'm not surviving this. I don't even know how. If we rolled that many times, I don't know how my kids are not hurt. I'm glad they're not.
Pryor has been charged with multiple felonies, including aggravated kidnapping and home invasion. A calm night across downtown St. Louis right now, but you better enjoy it while it lasts. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell's here. You're tracking some storm potential for us down the line.
Yes, in fact, that storm potential increases here a bit as we head towards Tuesday. And Tuesday is that weather impact alert day that we've already issued, just so you know. But before we get there, we got to deal with the weekend, right? At this point across the area, we have the low clouds coming back into St. Louis. They're going to stick with us into early tomorrow morning. Sunshine does look to be limited this weekend, but that's great news for the runners tomorrow morning. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, and it's dry. Temperatures will be in the 50s early tomorrow morning as the Greater St. Louis Marathon gets underway. By lunchtime, we start to break out those clouds a little bit, allow for some sunshine. Now, going into tomorrow night, there's another disturbance as the warmer air starts to try to work back our way. That's going to make an attempt to kick off some showers and areas of lighter rain. Most of that should stay south and southwest of St. Louis, but there is a small chance some of that rain will creep into the metro area as we head into Sunday, especially during the midday, early afternoon hours. We'll talk more about that and about how warm it gets Monday and storm chance Tuesday and the rain and thunder chance after Tuesday in a few minutes.
A lot to cover, Scott. Police are investigating a homicide in St. Charles. Officers arrived to Lee Drive just before 3 this morning. The initial call said someone was yelling for help in the street. When police arrived, they found a man shot to death inside a home. The victim has been identified as 19-year-old Bobby Jackson. If you have any information in this case, you're asked to call police. Tonight, a man faces charges following a crash that put a St. Louis police officer in the hospital. Court documents say Calvin Campbell was driving a stolen car. When police tried to pull him over, he took off. Police say the officer was arriving to assist with the arrest when he crashed into another car at an intersection near Vandeventer and Bell Avenue. Both the officer and the other driver are expected to be okay. Campbell faces charges for resisting arrest and stealing a vehicle. As Democrats push to retake control of Congress in next year's midterms, Republican Party officials are telling members of Congress to avoid town hall meetings. So now, some prominent Democrats are traveling the country to hold town halls in districts where Republicans won't. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, caught up with voters in Chesterfield at a People's Town Hall.
Lines out the door led to overflow seating inside this conference room at the Doubletree Hotel. On the agenda this Friday night,
it's Ann Wagner.
How do you feel about what she's done?
I don't think she's done anything.
Democratic speakers challenged veteran Republican Congresswoman Ann Wagner to meet her voters and take their questions about their concerns with President Trump's first 100 days back in office.
She hasn't held a town hall in 12 years.
In a written statement, Wagner derided the event as another political stunt from an out-of-touch liberal elite, taking aim at keynote speaker Senator Chris Murphy, who flew in from Connecticut.
You think his vision sells in Missouri?
I think it does, because Chris has been very much a pragmatic, progressive.
But Friday night, Murphy's message was mostly provocative prodding.
We're going to make it very clear to Ann Wagner and every other Republican in this country that are hiding from their constituents that if they don't represent the people that voted them into office, they're not going to stay in office.
In what amounted to political trash talk, Murphy threw down a gauntlet and challenged Wagner to hold a town hall.
I want to make sure that Representative Wagner hears us here, all right?
Just to add dramatic flair, he even personalized it with this selfie video.
Representative Wagner, I am here with some great public servants in Missouri, and we are doing what you refuse to do, which is talk to your constituents.
While the event was billed as a town hall, and some elected officials did take pre-screened written questions from the crowd, the effect of the event was more political rally, with an eye on Democrats retaking the Speaker's gavel on Capitol Hill.
We beat Ann Wagner, and we get the House of Representatives back in Democratic hands.
Congresswoman Ann Wagner was unavailable for an interview as she's preparing to travel to the Vatican for the burial of Pope Francis, though she did respond to this event in her backyard, dismissing the whole thing as a, quote, contrived Democrat spectacle. She said she's doing real work, and she's waiting to see which Democrat in this room might emerge from a primary to challenge her next November. In Chesterfield, Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is endorsing Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton for U.S. Senate. The two appeared together at Stratton's campaign launch event in Chicago today. She declared her candidacy just a day after Senator Dick Durbin announced he will not seek re-election. Pritzker says she's just the person to defend Illinois.
We need a fierce fighter for working families, someone who will never back down in the face of adversity. She's been my partner in governance while we've achieved big things for Illinois, and I know she is ready for the fight ahead.
Durbin's Senate term ends in 2027. He's held the seat since 1996. Tonight, dozens of people are camping outside Vatican City, hoping to be among the first inside for Pope Francis's funeral tomorrow. As the Vatican prepares to lay the Holy Father to rest, many are wondering what comes next. NBC's Alice Barr breaks down tomorrow's preparations as the world prepares to say goodbye to Pope Francis.
Good evening. Over the past 2 nights, St. Peter's Basilica has stayed open nearly all night to let some 250,000 people stream in to pay their respects to Pope Francis. That is all over now, and his coffin has been sealed in a solemn and private ceremony ahead of the funeral tomorrow, when Rome officials expect roughly 500,000 people to pack in and around St. Peter's Square. Among them, Renato Yontop Colosi, who we first met as a student at Georgetown University. Now studying in Geneva, he made the trip to pray by the Pope's coffin, reflecting on the crowds of people from all over the world who came to be present for the Pope, who always wanted to be close to them.
He had that message of like, I'm not someone powerful, I'm here to guide you, but like I need you also to come with me. So he was always inviting, welcoming others, and I think that's something that highlights his personality and the type of church that he wanted to build.
50 heads of state, including President Trump, are due to be here for the funeral. Security has been ramping up for their arrival and for the Pope's procession through Rome, from the funeral at St. Peter's to his burial at Santa Maria Maggiore, outside Vatican walls, a first for a pope in 120 years. The Vatican released an image of the tomb inscribed simply with the word Franciscus, another sign of the characteristic humility so many are honoring in Pope Francis as they prepare for a final goodbye. At the Vatican, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Hailed as heroes, 2 teens rush into a burning building, saving the residents.
I didn't even think about it. I kind of just jumped out and like ran upstairs.
I feel like anyone who would have been there at the time would have just done what we did.
They're sharing their story only with 5 on your side.
While some of us may see a bit of rain on Sunday, the next stronger chance of thunderstorms arrives on Tuesday. Why that's our next weather impact alert day, and why it's not the only significant rain chance next week.
Developing tonight, gas company Spire has fired its president and CEO. Our partners at the St. Louis Business Journal report the company terminated Steve Lindsay without cause. Spire officials wouldn't comment any further on why he was fired. The company has already named his successor as current COO Scott Doyle. 2 teens in Nashville, Illinois are being called heroes after running into a burning building and getting more than a dozen people to safety. In a story you'll only see on 5 on Your Side, the teens tell Holden Kowicki they were simply doing the right thing.
Wednesday night around 10:30, teens Andy Goforth and Davin Hugg were headed home when they noticed something was off at the Village Apartments retirement community.
We just saw and smelled some smoke coming around, and he said that like, we got to go find this fire.
We pulled over here, and I heard the people screaming. And I didn't even think about it. I kind of just jumped out and like ran upstairs.
My first thought is, I remember my grandma lives in there. I got to go get grandma.
They quickly called 911, only to find out the response would be delayed.
The Nashville Fire Department was on a mutual aid call to Pinckneyville when this fire broke out.
So the boys split up between the building's 2 floors to get people out.
A lot of them are elderly people, so they just have a little hearing problem, so it was really hard getting people to try to wake up and let them know that there's a fire.
The scariest part was the smoke. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see like a foot in front of me.
Really?
It was, I couldn't imagine that much smoke in one area.
2 people were airlifted to Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis with burns. 1 was treated for smoke inhalation at a local hospital, and 13 others were temporarily moved to a Red Cross shelter.
Without the great and quick heroic actions of Andy and Devin, God only knows how tragic this could have been.
However, the teens were quick to tell me they're not heroes.
Everyone said that word, and it's kind of just blown my mind. I never thought anyone would see it that way.
I feel like anyone who would have been there at the time would have just done what we did. We were at the right place in the right time.
So God was looking over everybody that night.
Reporting in Nashville, Illinois, Holden Kruwecki, 5 on your side.
State Representative Charlie Meyer told 5 on your side he is in the process of filing a resolution to bring both teams to Springfield to honor their efforts on the House floor. Let's check in again with Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell with the weather impact forecast. And it's kind of a little iffy this weekend.
Yeah, it's iffy, but there's no severe threat this weekend around St. Louis, so that's good news.
Yeah.
And much of the weekend is on the dry side. We do have a severe threat on Tuesday, and that threat exists during the entire day, pretty much into the evening. But it's only going to exist for an hour or two at any one spot. So it's not something that we're going to be on alert for the entire day. Just right now, we don't know exactly when that chance of storms will peak for us. But there could be some gusty winds. There could be some big hail. We're going to keep those devices charged as we head towards Tuesday. This is the risk area from the Storm Prediction Center. We're all in it at this point as we head into Tuesday. But a lot will depend on what happens Monday night farther north of us. Pittsfield's already down to 59, 65 in Chesterfield. It's still 70 in Mount Vernon. The front, though, has moved through the entire area. We now have the lower clouds coming in. They're not going to produce any rain, but they'll settle in, start us off tomorrow with gray skies. And we're watching these thunderstorms tonight develop over the panhandle of Texas. A lot of storm chasers have been down there today for some scenic tornado video. Meanwhile, that will push as a disturbance towards us for tomorrow night. And I think some of us tomorrow night late into Sunday will see a little bit of rain, but not severe weather. 8.93 inches so far this month. Month of April, we still have a few more days to go. We picked up almost 1/4 inch today, over 5 inches above average for the month, and we're over 15 for the year. We're still at the 6th wettest on record in St. Louis, but another 1/4 inch of rainfall, and that looks probable before we get to the end of the month, and we will be number 5. We'll see. Tomorrow we start with the clouds, then some sunshine will develop during the afternoon. Probably not a huge amount, but at least some. We'll take what we can get. By tomorrow morning, we're down into the 50s around St. Louis. Clouds do tend to break some midday into the afternoon, but then they start increasing again from the south as we go into the overnight hours. There's your rain trying to creep in, especially south and southwest of St. Louis. That's where you may get 1/10 to 1/4 inch. For us in the metro area, less than 1/10 inch, maybe just a few hundredths if it rains at all. So here we are on Tuesday. We're tracking this cold front in here. Again, a lot depends on what happens to our north and west early on Tuesday morning, say in the wee hours, and how that will play out during the day on Tuesday. We'll keep you posted. Just stay tuned. So we're looking at temperatures tomorrow morning in the 50s out the door for the marathon in downtown St. Louis, the Greater St. Louis Marathon. And you can see temperatures with some sunshine go back into the 60s tomorrow afternoon, 71 or so on Sunday. We might be a little optimistic there, Kelly, getting us back to 71, but let's be optimistic. It's Friday and we're headed into the weekend.
Right.
Yes? Okay, Monday, 86.
Ooh.
Some of us might even flirt with 90 Monday afternoon. There's our weather impact alert for Tuesday with that storm potential.
How do we go from 60? Well, why am I
It's
asking
St.
that?
Louis.
I know, of course it's St. Louis. All right, thanks, Scotty. Here's Corey with sports.
The Cardinals' hottest pitcher was at it again. The town is still buzzing from last night's Blues domination, and Luther Burden III has found an NFL home. Sports is on deck after the break. Busch Stadium must have looked like an oasis to the Cardinals when they flew back home on Wednesday night. It was a 1-6 road trip for the Cards. They aim to get back on track tonight against the Brewers. Matthew Liberatore has been impressive lately. He was good again tonight. Wash U product and current Brewer Caleb Durbin only struck out 10 times in his college career. He had never struck out in the big leagues until right there. 4 Ks and 1 earned run in 6 innings for Libby. Cards up 1-0 when Lars Nootbaar comes through with a hit to make it 2-0. Then Brendan Donovan He stays hot. He makes it 3-0 in the 5th, and we almost get a Contreras brother collision at home. But William tags out brother Wilson there. No collision, thankfully. 8th inning, 1-run game. Nolan Arenado to the rescue. What a play to get it out at home and stop the threat. Oh, my goodness. Ryan Helsley comes in, closes things down in the 9th. Cardinals win 3-2. Here's Ollie on that Arenado play to save the game.
Yeah, one guy makes it. The guy that made it tonight. I mean, incredible play. Big part of the game. That changes everything. So I didn't think he was going to go home with it. The way he turned his body through home, it was unbelievable play. What you have to compute in the matter of, a second there is incredible. And the fact that it comes natural to him, it's fun to watch.
Chicago Bears select Luther Burden III, wide receiver, Missouri.
It took a bit longer than we thought it might, but Luther Burden is an NFL receiver. The Chicago Bears took the Mizzou wideout and St. Louis native with the 39th overall pick today. See those emotions with his family as the dream became reality. Burden will join QB Caleb Williams and new head coach Ben Johnson on a Bears team that is loaded with offensive weapons. Congrats to Luther and the Burden family. The Blues needed to make a big-time statement to get back in their series against Winnipeg last night. They got that and then some in a 7-2 victory. The Blues have struck back at home, and now they'll look to even the series Sunday afternoon at Enterprise Center. There was a lot to love about last night. Cam Fowler set a record as the first Blues defenseman in history with 5 points in a playoff game. Pavel Buchnevich sent the hats onto the ice with the first playoff hat trick of his career, and the Blues just didn't stop. They chased the best goalie in the league, Connor Hellebuck, out of the game and scored at least 7 goals in a playoff game for the first time since 1998. The Blues are used to having their backs against the wall, and that's usually when we see their best.
The reason we're in the playoffs is because those guys responded and took their game to another level. We felt we had to take our game in the playoffs to another level, after losing the first 2 games, and we did that. Now we got to keep going. You got to keep getting better in the series, and we just got to keep getting better.
We've had our backs against the wall for the last quarter of the season, I'd say. So, it's a place where we're comfortable being, and we control our emotions, and we just take it one day at a time.
The Battlehawks are back at the Dome tomorrow against the Michigan Panthers. Max Duggan will get his first start after relieving a hurt Manny Wilkins last week. At 2-2 with 6 games left, the Battlehawks cannot let this trend of losses continue if they want to make the playoffs. Coach Becht isn't sweating it yet, though.
I have not panicked. I have not lost sleep at all. I know what we have. I know what we do. I know how we work. I know what our coaches do. And I lean on those things, man. You have to, because, we know we're better than what we are, but this is what we are right now. So we got to go out there and prove it and respond.
Finally, shout out to Belleville East softball pitcher Olivia Hemmerly. She has thrown 4 no-hitters in a row, and they came in the span of 8 days. I don't care what level you're at, that is very impressive. Congrats to Olivia and the Lancers.
That is impressive. Okay, when's the next Blues game?
Sunday at noon. So set your alarms early if you want to sleep in. You can't. There's a Blues game.
That's right. All right, thanks, Corey. And speaking of Blues, a Blues hat trick leads to a tricky situation. See the cap conundrum, sending 2 fans on the hunt. Pavel Buchnevich's hat trick is putting 2 Blues fans on a hat hunt. FanDuel sports reporter Andy Strickland posted this picture on X today showing 2 young fans searching through a pile of hats that were thrown into the ice after last night's game. Now, apparently, the 2 had tossed their favorite hats during the celebration, and more than 34,000 people have seen the post. They have a lot of hats to go through. Today, a special guest helped celebrate Ted Drewes today. The Cardinals mascot, Fredbird, came out to take pictures and greet people outside the Custer shop. Today marks when the St. Louis establishment was first recognized by the city. Visitors could enjoy 96-cent single scoop cones to celebrate all day. I know you wish you could have.
I'm just thinking. I knew I wanted something for dinner. I just didn't know what it was.
It could have been Ted Drewes.
Custard.
I wanted a concrete. I sure did.
Oh, that sounds good.
But even though this weekend's not the warmest weekend ever, there's never a bad time for a concrete at Ted Drewes.
100%.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us at 10. Have a great weekend. We're always streaming on 5+.